Ever notice how your shopping bills keep getting bigger? From Best Buy's electronics and AutoZone's car parts to even Dollar Tree items no longer costing just $1, major stores across America are jacking up their prices just to stay afloat. Even the super cheap online stores like Shein and Temu are raising prices. The result? Your wallet takes a hit while these companies try to survive. Today, we're breaking down the 10 retail chains raising their prices in 2025, and why you might want to shop somewhere else if you care about saving money. Best Buy. This electronics giant has been a staple in American centers for decades, the place where countless families have purchased their TVs, laptops, and household appliances. But what many shoppers don't realize is just how vulnerable Best Buy is to international trade dynamics. Best Buy's CEO, Corie Barry, recently warned that proposed tariffs could significantly impact pricing, as a staggering 60% of its products are sourced from China, and Mexico is a key import country as well. These aren't small increases we're talking about, with tariffs of 60% on Chinese goods and 25% on Mexican and Canadian goods set to take effect this year. The cost of electronics like TVs, laptops, and appliances is expected to skyrocket. What makes this particularly concerning is that Best Buy has explicitly indicated it plans to pass these costs directly to consumers, just as it did during previous tariff challenges in 2018 and 2019. During an earnings call in December 2024, Barry didn't mince words. These tariffs could have a major domino effect on our business, she admitted, noting that price hikes are likely if costs rise significantly. For American families already struggling with inflation, these increases couldn't come at a worse time. Think about the single parent who needs a laptop for their child's schoolwork, or the elderly couple on a fixed income trying to replace a broken refrigerator. These aren't luxury purchases, they're necessities in modern American life, and now they're becoming increasingly out of reach at Best Buy. Industry analysts suggest that consumers seeking affordable electronics would be better served by looking at discount retailers or online marketplaces like Amazon, which have more flexibility to absorb tariff impacts. Best Buy's premium pricing model, already challenging for budget-conscious shoppers, is about to become even less competitive. But what does it say about our economy when even basic technology becomes a luxury good? Is this the future we want for American consumers? And while Best Buy customers face these price hikes on electronics, another essential sector is being hit hard by similar forces, affecting one of America's most vital necessities, our vehicles. AutoZone. This auto parts retailer has long been the go-to destination for DIY car repairs and maintenance, serving as a lifeline for Americans who can't afford expensive mechanic bills. What many drivers don't realize, however, is that AutoZone is particularly vulnerable to international trade pressures that are now threatening its affordability. AutoZone's CEO, Philip Daniele, recently acknowledged that both inflationary pressures and potential 2025 tariffs could raise costs for auto parts, many of which are imported from overseas. During a candid moment in a 2024 earnings call, Daniele noted that inflation over the past 3 years has been unprecedented, severely squeezing the company's profit margins. With proposed tariffs as high as 60% on Chinese parts set to take effect this year, the situation is about to get much worse. What makes this particularly troubling is the timing. AutoZone is actually betting on consumers repairing vehicles rather than buying new ones during this economic uncertainty. The company knows that in tough times, Americans tend to fix rather than replace. But these same economic pressures are forcing AutoZone to raise the very prices that budget-conscious consumers rely on. Think about what this means for the average working American. Take Michael from Pittsburgh, a factory worker who relies on his 2012 sedan to get to work each day. He can't afford a new car in this economy, so when his alternator fails, AutoZone parts are his only realistic option. Now, with prices increasing, even basic vehicle maintenance becomes a financial strain. For families living paycheck to paycheck, these price hikes don't just mean tighter budgets. They can mean choosing between car repairs and other necessities like groceries or medication. Industry analysts suggest that online retailers or local auto shops might soon offer more competitive pricing for parts, especially for DIY repairs. But what happens to the millions of Americans in rural areas with limited internet access or few local alternatives when even AutoZone becomes unaffordable? What options remain for working-class Americans just trying to keep their vehicles running? But as troubling as these price increases are for vehicle owners, perhaps the most shocking price hikes are happening at stores specifically created to serve America's most budget-conscious consumers. Dollar Tree. For generations, this discount retailer has been a financial lifeline for low-income Americans, a place where families could stretch their limited budgets to cover essential household items. What many shoppers don't realize is how Dollar Tree's entire business model is now being fundamentally transformed by economic pressures. Dollar Tree has adopted what they call a multi-price strategy, allowing them to raise prices on certain products beyond their traditional $1.25 cap. CFO Jeff Creedon stated in 2024 that this flexibility helps the company adjust to tariff-related cost increases, which could range from 10 to 20% on imported goods. This might not sound dramatic until you realize what it means for Dollar Tree's identity and customer base. What makes this particularly troubling is that Dollar Tree has already been forced to abandon its original dollar-only model in recent years, raising prices to $1.25 in 2021. Now, with the multi-price strategy, even that promise is being broken. The store, literally named for its single dollar price point, can no longer maintain that commitment to American consumers. Consider what this means for Sarah, a single mother in rural Missouri working 2 jobs to support her 3 children. Dollar Tree has been her go-to for everything from school supplies to household cleaners. For families like hers, even small price increases can have devastating ripple effects across already tight budgets. When the most affordable option becomes less affordable, where do America's most financially vulnerable citizens turn? Discount retailers like Dollar Tree have seen surging traffic with 4.3 million new customers from 2022 to 2023, a clear indication that more Americans are feeling financial pressure. Yet at the very moment when more people need these affordable options, the stores themselves are being forced to abandon the very pricing models that made them accessible. As other retailers like Dollar General face similar pressures, one has to ask, is there any harbor arbor left for budget-conscious consumers? When even dollar stores can't maintain affordable prices, what does that reveal about the state of the American economy and the financial security of ordinary citizens? And it's not just discount stores feeling the pressure. Even a Mary Favorite or affordable luxury retailers are being forced to reconsider their pricing strategy in ways that will impact millions of shoppers. Target. This beloved retailer has carved out a unique position in American retail, offering a slightly upscale alternative to Walmart with its focus on style and design at reasonable prices. But what many loyal Target shoppers don't realize is how vulnerable the company is to international trade dynamics that are now threatening its pricing model. Target faces significant exposure to 2025 tariffs, with potential rates up to 60% on Chinese products. While the company hasn't explicitly announced price hikes, its heavy reliance on imported apparel, electronics, and home goods suggests it will have little choice but to pass these costs on to consumers. During a 2024 earnings call, CEO Brian Cornell acknowledged that tariffs and inflation could impact consumer pricing, a carefully worded admission that higher prices are likely coming. What makes this particularly concerning is Target's simultaneous investment in other costly initiatives. The company is pouring resources into AI development and has been reducing self-checkout options, both of which increase operational costs. These investments might improve the shopping experience, but they also create additional pressure to raise prices at a time when consumers are already feeling squeezed. Think about families like the Johnsons from suburban Chicago. With 3 growing children, they've relied on Target for reasonably priced clothing, school supplies, and household essentials. They specifically choose Target because it offers slightly better quality than discount stores without the premium prices of department stores. Now, as prices rise, families like the Johnsons are caught in the middle, unable to afford Target but unwilling to sacrifice quality completely. Industry analysts suggest that Walmart or Aldi may offer better value for essentials, while online retailers could undercut Target on discretionary purchases. But this forces consumers to shop at multiple locations, spending precious time and transportation costs just to maintain their standard of living. Is this the new reality for America's middle class, piecing together shopping strategies just to afford the basics? When even Target becomes a luxury, what does that say about the economic mobility of average Americans? The pricing pressures aren't limited to individual retailers either. Even membership-based warehouse clubs that once promised significant savings through bulk purchasing are now facing difficult decisions about their pricing models. Costco. This warehouse club has built its reputation on offering significant savings to members willing to buy in bulk, becoming a staple for budget-conscious families and small business owners alike. What many loyal Costco shoppers don't realize, however, is that even this retail giant isn't immune to the economic pressures forcing price increases across the industry. Costco's CFO, Gary Millerchip, acknowledged in December 2024 that tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers as the company imports significant volumes from China and other countries. While Costco's membership model and bulk buying strategy help absorb some costs, the scale of proposed tariffs, up to 60% on Chinese goods, may force substantial price adjustments, particularly for electronics, apparel, and household goods. What makes this particularly troubling is that Costco has historically prided itself on maintaining razor-thin margins to deliver value to its members. When even Costco feels compelled to raise prices, it signals a fundamental shift in retail economics that affects all Americans. The company reported $254.5 billion in global revenue in 2024, but even this massive scale isn't enough to fully shield consumers from rising costs. Consider the impact on small business owners like Miguel, who runs a family restaurant in Phoenix. He relies on Costco for bulk food supplies and paper goods to keep his business afloat with thin profit margins. For entrepreneurs like Miguel, Costco price increases don't just mean higher household expenses. They directly threaten their livelihoods and the jobs they provide in their communities. Industry analysts point out that Costco's membership fees, $60, $120 annually, already add to shopping costs, and price increases could erode its value proposition. Some suggest shoppers may find comparable bulk deals at competitors like Sam's Club or online platforms without the membership overhead. But the broader question remains: when even the most efficiency-focused retailers can't maintain affordable prices, what hope is there for American consumers? Is bulk buying, once a reliable strategy for family savings, becoming just another luxury for the financially secure, while retailers themselves are feeling the squeeze? There's another dimension to this pricing crisis that impacts virtually every American household, regardless of where they shop: the rising costs of the essential products we use every day. Procter & Gamble. While not a retail chain itself, this consumer goods giant supplies essential products found in virtually every American home, from Tide laundry detergent to Pampers diapers to Charmin toilet paper. What many shoppers don't realize is how P&G's pricing decisions directly impact what you pay at retailers like Walmart, Target, and Kroger. Procter & Gamble announced price increases in 2024 due to tariff concerns and rising raw material costs. This isn't a small adjustment. It's a significant price hike on products that most Americans consider absolute necessities. P&G's global supply chains make it particularly vulnerable to 2025 tariffs, and retailers carrying these products have little choice but to pass these costs directly to consumers. What makes this especially troubling is the essential nature of P&G's products. These aren't luxury items or discretionary purchases. They're the basic necessities that families rely on daily. When the cost of diapers increases, parents can't simply choose not to buy them. When laundry detergent prices rise, families can't opt out of clean clothes. These price hikes hit the most vulnerable Americans hardest because they target products with inelastic demand. Think about Jessica, a home health aide in Atlanta making just above minimum wage. She's already stretching her budget to care for her elderly mother and 2 children. For her, an extra dollar on laundry detergent or diapers means potentially skipping meals or falling behind on utilities. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. They're the reality for millions of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Industry analysts note that P&G products are staples that have some pricing power, but inflation-weary consumers are increasingly switching to private label brands. Stores heavily stocking P&G goods like Walmart and Target may see reduced foot traffic as prices continue to rise. For budget-conscious shoppers, the recommendation is clear. Consider store brands at Aldi, Lidl, or dollar stores as alternatives. But this raises profound questions about consumer choice and market power. Should basic hygiene and childcare products be subject to such pricing pressure, when even the most essential household items become financial burdens? What does that reveal about the priorities of our economic system? The pricing crisis extends beyond household essentials to other important categories that impact quality of life, including the clothing and footwear that Americans wear every day. Adidas. This global apparel brand has become a fixture in American wardrobes, from athletic performance gear to everyday fashion. What many consumers don't realize is how vulnerable Adidas products are to international trade policies that are now threatening significant price increases. Adidas faces tariff-related cost increases due to its heavy reliance on manufacturing in China and other Asian countries. With proposed 2025 tariffs of up to 60% on Chinese goods, the cost of sneakers and sportswear sold at retailers like Foot Locker, Dick's Sporting Goods, and department stores is expected to rise substantially. Adidas has signaled it may adjust pricing to offset these costs, a diplomatic way of saying consumer prices will increase. What makes this particularly concerning is that apparel retailers are already struggling with inflation and reduced discretionary spending. In industry publications, retail executives acknowledge that tariffs are inflationary for customers, a straightforward admission that these costs will be passed directly to American consumers. Adidas's premium pricing could exacerbate affordability concerns for average shoppers. Consider the impact on families like the Garcias from San Antonio. Their teenage son plays high school basketball and needs new shoes every season as he grows. Previously, Adidas offered a balance of quality and affordability that worked for their budget. Now, with prices increasing, they face difficult choices: pay more for the same products, switch to potentially lower quality alternatives, or cut spending elsewhere in their household budget. Industry analysts suggest that stores carrying Adidas products may become less affordable for casual shoppers. Budget-friendly alternatives like Nike's lower-tier lines or off-brand apparel at Walmart or Amazon could offer better value. But this creates a two-tier marketplace quality quality items for those who can afford the premium prices, and inferior products for everyone else. This raises troubling questions about access and equity in American retail. Should quality athletic shoes, often essential for school sports and physical health, be priced beyond what average families can afford? When even basic apparel becomes a luxury good, what does that reveal about economic inequality in America? But it's not just established traditional brands that are being forced to raise prices. Even the newer, ultra-affordable shopping alternatives that many Americans have come to rely on are facing similar pressures. Shein. This Chinese fast fashion giant has exploded in popularity among young American consumers, offering trendy clothing at rock-bottom prices through its e-commerce platform. What many loyal Shein shoppers don't realize is how the company's entire business model is threatened by current trade policies. Shein relies heavily on low-cost production in China, which makes it particularly vulnerable to proposed 2025 tariffs that could reach an astounding 60 to 100% on Chinese goods. These aren't minor adjustments. They represent a fundamental threat to Shein's ultra-low price model. The company has indicated it may increase prices to maintain profitability, potentially undermining the very feature that attracted its customer base. What makes this particularly troubling is the timing. Shein has already been under scrutiny for sustainability issues, and tariff-driven price hikes could further reduce its competitive edge against rivals like H&M or Zara, which have more diversified supply chains. The company has explicitly announced price increases effective April 25, 2025, directly citing tariffs on Chinese imports as the cause. Consider the impact on consumers like Aisha, a college student in Boston working part-time to pay her tuition. She relies on Shein's affordable prices to maintain a professional wardrobe for internship interviews and campus jobs. For young consumers like her, these price increases don't just mean fewer fashion options. They can affect professional opportunities and social belonging at a critical life stage. Industry analysts suggest that shoppers may find similar low-cost fashion at competitors like Temu if tariffs are mitigated, or thrift stores. But the reality is that Shein's combination of trendy styles and rock-bottom prices created a unique niche that served millions of budget-conscious Americans. As these prices rise, many consumers will find themselves priced out of fast fashion entirely. This raises important questions about global trade and consumer access. Is it fair that young Americans with limited incomes bear the financial burden of international trade tensions when even the most affordable fashion options become less accessible? What does that say about economic opportunity for younger generations? And speaking of ultra-affordable alternatives, another recent market entrant that has quickly gained popularity among bargain hunters is now facing similar challenges that threaten its business model. Temu. This Chinese e-commerce marketplace burst onto the American retail scene with astonishingly low prices on everything from clothing to home goods to electronics. What many bargain-hunting consumers don't realize is how vulnerable Temu's entire business model is to current trade policies. Temu faces similar tariff pressures as Shein, with potential tariffs of 60 to 100% on Chinese goods looming in 2025. As a low-cost retailer relying almost exclusively on direct-from-China shipping, Temu is particularly exposed to these trade policies. The company has confirmed price hikes starting April 25, 2025, specifically citing tariff costs as the driving factor. What makes this especially concerning is that Temu's entire value proposition is built around offering prices that undercut even discount retailers like Walmart. As a relatively new entrant to the American market, Temu gained massive popularity by offering seemingly impossible deals: $5 shirts, $10 shoes, and $20 small appliances. These rock-bottom prices attracted millions of budget-conscious Americans, especially those hardest hit by inflation. Consider shoppers like Maria, a retired teacher living on a fixed income in rural Georgia. She discovered Temu last year and was delighted to find affordable household items she could actually fit in her tight budget. For consumers like Maria, Temu wasn't just another shopping option. It was a financial lifeline. Now, with prices increasing, that lifeline is being pulled away. Industry analysts warn that if Temu's prices rise significantly, its value proposition weakens substantially. Consumers may find better deals at established retailers like Amazon or Walmart, which have more robust supply chain strategies and can potentially mitigate some tariff impacts. But this assumes that these alternatives will remain affordable themselves, which is far from certain. This situation raises profound questions about global trade policies and their impact on the most financially vulnerable Americans. Are tariffs that disproportionately affect budget retailers serving their intended purpose? When even the most affordable shopping options become less accessible, who truly bears the cost of international trade tensions? Finally, as we've seen price increases across electronics, auto parts, discount goods, apparel, and household items, there's one more essential category where rising costs are having perhaps the most immediate impact on American families: the food we put on our tables every day. Kroger. This supermarket giant operates under various names across the country, serving as the primary grocery source for millions of American families. What many loyal Kroger shoppers don't realize is how vulnerable the company is to international supply chains and trade policies that are now threatening further price increases on essential food items. Kroger, one of the largest U.S. grocery chains, faces mounting pressure from inflation and potential 2025 tariffs on imported food and goods. Grocery prices are already 20% higher than 4 years ago, a staggering increase that has strained household budgets nationwide. Kroger's reliance on global supply chains for produce, packaged goods, and private label products could lead to further price hikes as international trade tensions escalate. What makes this particularly troubling is that Kroger's focus on premium brands and loyalty programs suggests it may prioritize margins over affordability. The company's proposed merger with Albertsons could further complicate pricing strategies if approved, potentially reducing competition in many markets and giving the combined entity even more pricing power. Consider the impact on families like the Thompsons from Indianapolis. With 3 growing children and both parents working full-time, they rely on Kroger for weekly grocery shopping. They've already noticed their grocery bill increasing by nearly $200 per month compared to last year. For middle-class families like theirs, these aren't minor adjustments. They're major financial pressures that force difficult choices about nutrition and household necessities. Industry analysts suggest that Kroger's prices may become less competitive compared to Aldi, Lidl, or Walmart, which prioritize low-cost essentials. Shoppers seeking value may benefit from discount grocers or bulk buying at warehouse clubs if membership costs are justified. But this assumes consumers have access to these alternatives, which isn't true for many Americans in food deserts or rural areas. This raises profound questions about food security and affordability in America. Should access to reasonably priced groceries, literal sustenance, be subject to the whims of international trade tensions? When even putting food on the table becomes a financial struggle for middle-class families, what does that reveal about our economic priorities? Is affordable nutrition becoming a luxury rather than a basic right? The retail landscape in America is undergoing a profound transformation, driven by a perfect storm of tariffs, inflation, supply chain disruptions, and changing consumer behaviors. The proposed 2025 tariffs, 60% on Chinese goods, 20% on other imports, are a major driver of price increases across retail. These taxes on imported goods raise costs for retailers, who often have little choice but to pass them on to consumers. What we're witnessing isn't just a temporary fluctuation in prices, it's a fundamental shift in retail economics that threatens to leave millions of Americans behind. The ongoing retail apocalypse has weakened many chains, with 7,325 U.S. store closures in 2024 alone. Retailers like Party City and Big Lots have filed for bankruptcy, highlighting the financial strain forcing price increases or store closures. For American consumers, especially those already struggling with inflation, the implications are severe. Shoppers are increasingly price sensitive, switching to discount retailers like Dollar General and Aldi, and embracing private label brands. Yet even these supposedly affordable alternatives are now raising prices, leaving nowhere to turn for budget-conscious families. The retailers we've discussed today, Best Buy, AutoZone, Dollar Tree, Target, Costco, those selling Procter & Gamble and Adidas products, Shine, Temu, and Kroger, are just the most visible examples of a broader economic reality. As prices continue to rise, American consumers are being forced to make increasingly difficult choices about what they can afford and what they must sacrifice. This isn't just about shopping preferences or minor inconveniences. For millions of Americans, these price increases mean choosing between essentials, deciding whether to buy groceries or medicine, repair a car, or pay a utility bill. The financial strain falls hardest on those least able to absorb it: the elderly on fixed incomes, single parents, low-wage workers, and young people just starting out. As we navigate this challenging retail environment, consumers would be wise to consider alternatives to these price-increasing chains: local and regional retailers, secondhand options, bulk buying cooperatives, and online alternatives might offer better value. But the broader question remains: in an economy where even basic necessities are becoming luxury items, what does the future hold for American consumers? If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.
Tariffs raise prices. You can't impose tariffs and lower prices at the same time.
Imagine paying $18 for that salmon fillet that cost $13 last month, or watching your morning coffee jump by $2 per bag. With new tariffs hitting up to 46% on seafood from Vietnam, and even your Mexican tomatoes facing an 18% hike, your grocery bill is about to get shocking. Here are the top 12 foods you should buy now before prices potentially double by June. Seafood. First on our list, seafood. This might be the category hit hardest by the new tariffs, and here's why. Did you know that the US imports up to 85% of its seafood? That's right, the vast majority of fish and shellfish on American tables comes from overseas. But what few people realize is just how dependent we are on countries facing the steepest tariffs. Vietnam, a major seafood supplier to the US, is now subject to a staggering 46% tariff. Other significant sources like Chile face 10% tariffs, while Indonesia faces 32% and India 26%. The impact is already already starting to surface. Seafood importers are scrambling to secure inventory before the full effect of these tariffs hits. Industry analysts predict shortages of popular items like shrimp, tilapia, and frozen fish fillets. Some specialty seafood items could disappear from grocery stores entirely as importers decide certain products are no longer profitable to bring in. This translates to some serious sticker shock. That salmon fillet you paid $12.99 per pound for last month? Don't be surprised if it's $18 or more by June. Budget-friendly options like frozen tilapia and shrimp staples for many working families could see some of the steepest increases. And who bears the brunt of these increases? It's not just seafood lovers. Think about the thousands of restaurant workers whose livelihoods depend on affordable seafood. Many small coastal restaurants are already struggling with rising costs, and these tariffs could force menu prices up by 15 to 20% or more, driving away customers and threatening jobs. Should families already struggling with inflation now have to choose between nutritious seafood and other necessities? If seafood prices jump this dramatically, what does that mean for people who are trying to maintain healthy diets on tight budgets? And it's not just seafood feeling the impact. That morning cup of joe you rely on to start your day, it's about to hit your wallet even harder. Coffee. Next up is a morning essential for millions. Coffee. That daily cup of joe you rely on, it's about to get a lot more expensive, and you should consider stocking up now. What many people don't realize is that 99% of coffee consumed in the US is imported, primarily from countries in Latin America. Brazil, which supplies a significant portion of America's coffee beans, faces a 10% tariff, while Colombia, another major supplier, is also subject to tariffs.
We import stuff from other countries because we don't grow much of it here. Like coffee, for example.
The coffee supply chain is particularly vulnerable to price increases because it's already been dealing with climate-related challenges affecting harvests. Add tariffs to that equation, and we're looking at a perfect storm for coffee lovers. Industry experts are warning that both supermarket coffee and your favorite cafe drinks will see price hikes. Major coffee chains are already preparing customers for increases. For grocery store coffee, expect to pay anywhere from 50 cents to $2 more per bag, depending on the brand and origin. But the impact extends far beyond your personal budget. Consider the thousands of independent coffee shops across America, small businesses that operate on razor-thin margins. Many of these shops are still recovering from pandemic-related losses, and now they face the impossible choice of raising prices and potentially losing customers, or absorbing costs they simply can't afford. For the baristas and staff who rely on these businesses for their livelihoods, these tariffs could mean reduced hours or even lost jobs. And in communities where the local coffee shop serves as a gathering place and economic anchor, the ripple effects could be substantial. If you're a coffee drinker, consider purchasing an extra bag or two of your favorite beans now. Properly stored, coffee can maintain quality for several months, especially if frozen. While your morning brew might cost more, the evening glass of wine you enjoy to unwind could also leave your wallet feeling lighter. Wine. Third on our list is wine, a category that's about to see some significant price increases, particularly for imported varieties. This might not be a daily essential for everyone, but for many Americans who enjoy an occasional glass with dinner or who celebrate special occasions with a nice bottle, the impact will be noticeable. Wines from Europe, including those from France, Italy, and Spain, now face 20% tariffs, while wines from Australia and New Zealand are subject to 10% tariffs. These countries represent the majority of wine imports to the United States. What many wine enthusiasts don't realize is how quickly these tariffs will affect retail prices. Unlike some other products where retailers might absorb costs temporarily, wine is typically marked up based on the landed cost, meaning tariffs translate almost directly to higher shelf prices. Industry analysts predict price increases of at least 15 to 25% for European wines by early summer. That $15 bottle of Spanish Red could soon cost $18.19, while higher-end wines could see even steeper dollar increases. The timing is particularly unfortunate for small wine shops and distributors across America. These businesses often operate with limited capital and cannot afford to stock up significantly ahead of price increases. Many are still recovering from pandemic-related losses and supply chain disruptions that have plagued the industry for years. For consumers, especially those on fixed incomes who enjoy an occasional glass of imported wine, these price increases represent yet another squeeze on discretionary spending. And for restaurants already struggling with food inflation, wine list prices will likely increase, potentially affecting sales and server tips. What does it mean when even small pleasures become increasingly unaffordable? If you have upcoming celebrations or enjoy specific imported wines regularly, purchasing a few extra bottles now could save you considerable money in the coming months. Wine isn't the only indulgence facing steep increases. That healthy handful of nuts you snack on, they're about to cost you a lot more crunch for your buck. Nuts. Fourth on our list, nuts, a nutritious snack and cooking ingredient that's about to get much more expensive. While nuts may seem like a small part of your grocery budget, the price increases coming could surprise you, especially if you regularly purchase certain varieties. The majority of popular nuts like cashews, macadamias, and even some almonds are imported, often from countries facing significant tariffs. Vietnam, which supplies many of the cashews found in American stores, now faces a steep 46% tariff. India, another major nut supplier, faces a 26% tariff. The impact is already being felt throughout the supply chain. Importers report that wholesale prices for cashews have jumped 15 to 20% since the tariff announcements, with further increases expected once current inventories are depleted. By June, consumers could see cashew prices 30 to 40% higher than they were at the beginning of the year. People who rely on nuts as a protein source or healthy snack option, these increases present a real budget challenge. A 1-pound bag of cashews that cost $8.99 in January could potentially cost $12 or more by summer. Mixed nuts and specialty options like macadamias could see even higher percentage increases. The price hikes could be particularly difficult for small businesses like bakeries, ice cream shops, and specialty food producers who use nuts as ingredients. Many of these small operations cannot easily absorb significant cost increases or pass them on to customers without risking sales declines. And for health-conscious consumers and those with dietary restrictions who rely on nuts as a staple protein source, these price increases could force difficult nutritional compromises. Is it reasonable to expect families to sacrifice healthy food options because of trade policies?
It's a self-inflicted economic crisis, and it's worse than the worst-case scenario most experts feared.
If nuts are a regular part of your diet or cooking, consider purchasing shelf-stable varieties now. Properly stored in airtight containers in a cool, dry place, most nuts will maintain quality for 6-12 months, and they can be frozen for even longer storage. Speaking of imported foods that define authentic flavors, European cheeses are facing a perfect storm of tariff troubles that could transform them from everyday pleasures to occasional luxuries. Cheese. Fifth on our list is cheese. Particularly affected will be imported varieties like Parmigiano Reggiano, Brie, Gouda, and other European favorites, which now face 20% tariffs from countries like Italy, France, Spain, and the Netherlands. The authentic imported cheeses aren't just luxury items, they're staples in many kitchens, especially among the country's diverse ethnic communities. These cheeses often have protected designation status, meaning they cannot be legally produced elsewhere. There's simply no American substitute for true Parmigiano Reggiano or authentic Manchego. The tariff impact is expected to be significant. Industry experts predict that by June, consumers could see price increases of 15 to 25% on imported European cheeses. That wedge of Parmigiano Reggiano that currently costs $15 could soon be $18 or more. For specialty cheese shops, these increases represent an existential threat to their business model, but the consequences extend beyond just higher prices for cheese enthusiasts. The ripple effects on restaurants, particularly those specializing in Italian, French, or Mediterranean cuisine. Many of these establishments, often small, family-owned businesses, rely on authentic imported cheeses as fundamental ingredients. They now face the impossible choice of raising menu prices, compromising on quality, or absorbing costs they cannot afford. People with European heritage who use specific cheeses in traditional recipes, these tariffs add yet another financial barrier to maintaining cultural food traditions. And for the thousands of specialty food store employees and cheesemongers whose livelihoods depend on selling these products, the reduced sales volumes could mean fewer work hours or even job losses. Is preserving culinary traditions worth protecting? Should access to authentic cultural foods be limited by trade policies? Start buying extra now. Most hard cheeses will keep for months in the refrigerator when properly wrapped, and many can be frozen for even longer storage. If cheese prices have you concerned, consider what's happening to that Mediterranean staple you drizzle over nearly everything. Olive oil is next on our warning list. Olive oil. Sixth on our list is olive oil, a kitchen essential that's already experienced price volatility and is now set to become even more expensive. If you cook regularly, this is one item you'll definitely want to stock up on before prices climb higher. Approximately 95% of olive oil consumed in the United States is imported, primarily from European countries including Spain, Italy, and Greece, all now subject to 20% tariffs. Even non-European sources like Tunisia face tariffs of at least 10%. The timing couldn't be worse. Olive oil prices were already elevated due to drought conditions affecting production in Spain, the world's largest producer. Industry analysts now predict that by June, consumers could see olive oil prices 25 to 35% higher than they were at the beginning of the year. For practical shoppers, this means that 500 milliliters bottle of extra virgin olive oil that cost $12 in January could soon cost $15-16 or more. Premium and organic varieties could see even steeper increases.
You can argue that targeted tariffs are worth it for some other policy goal, but you can't argue that they magically bring prices down.
The impact will be particularly severe for Mediterranean restaurants and specialty food producers who use olive oil as a primary ingredient. Many of these businesses are small, family-owned operations that cannot easily absorb such significant cost increases. Some restaurant owners report that olive oil represents 5 to 8% of their total food costs, a percentage that could rise dramatically with these tariffs. For health-conscious consumers who use olive oil for its documented health benefits, these price increases could force difficult compromises. And for Americans with Mediterranean Mediterranean heritage who use olive oil daily as part of their traditional diet. These tariffs represent yet another financial barrier to maintaining cultural food traditions. Is it reasonable that a basic healthy cooking ingredient like an olive oil becomes increasingly unaffordable? How do people have to compromise on the quality of such a fundamental food staple? Now is the time to purchase extra bottles. Properly stored in a cool, dark place, good quality olive oil will maintain its characteristics for 24 months after bottling. Check the harvest or Best By date and purchase accordingly. From savory to sweet, chocolate lovers need to pay special attention to what's coming next, as this beloved treat faces a double hit of challenges. Chocolate. 7th on our list is chocolate, a beloved treat that's about to become more expensive due to a perfect storm of challenges. If you have a sweet tooth or regularly bake with chocolate, you'll want to pay close attention. Cocoa beans, the primary ingredient in chocolate, are almost entirely imported, mainly from West African countries like the Ivory Coast, which now faces a 21% tariff. Ecuador, another significant source, faces a 10% tariff. But tariffs are just one part of the problem. Cocoa prices were already at record highs due to poor harvests and disease affecting cacao trees. Add the new tariffs, and chocolate manufacturers are facing unprecedented cost pressures from multiple directions. Industry analysts predict that by June, consumers could see chocolate prices 20 to 30% higher than they were at the beginning of the year. That $3 chocolate bar could soon cost $3.60 or more, while premium chocolates could see even steeper increases. Baking chocolate, chocolate chips, and cocoa powder will all be affected. The timing is particularly challenging for small chocolate makers and bakeries. These artisanal businesses operate on narrow margins and often cannot afford to stock up significantly ahead of price increases. Many have already weathered multiple cocoa price hikes in recent years and have limited capacity to absorb further increases without raising prices to consumers. For children, these increases could make a simple pleasure increasingly unaffordable, and for the thousands of workers in chocolate shops, bakeries, and specialty food stores, reduced sales volumes could mean fewer work hours or even job losses. Is it fair that a small joy like chocolate becomes less accessible to ordinary Americans? If chocolate is your regular purchase, buy extra now, especially baking chocolate, cocoa powder, and chocolate chips, which have a long shelf life when properly stored. Most chocolate products will keep for 12 months or longer if stored in a cool, dry place. While chocolate might seem like a luxury to some, our next item is a baking essential that's about to see one of the largest percentage increases of any food on our list. Vanilla. 8th on our list is vanilla, an ingredient that may seem minor, but could see one of the largest percentage price increases of any food item. If you bake regularly or enjoy vanilla-flavored products, you should know what's coming. Genuine vanilla comes primarily from Madagascar, which produces over 80% of the world's supply. With potential tariff increases from 10% to 47% on vanilla from Madagascar, this baking staple is poised for a significant price shock. The vanilla supply chain was already fragile. Real vanilla is labor-intensive to produce, requiring hand pollination and a lengthy curing process. The global market has experienced extreme volatility in recent years due to cyclones and other challenges affecting Madagascar's production. Industry experts predict that by June, consumers could see pure vanilla extract prices 30 to 40% higher than current levels. That small 2-ounce bottle of pure vanilla extract that currently costs $8.10 could soon cost $11.14 or more. Vanilla beans could become prohibitively expensive for average consumers. The impact extends far beyond home bakers. Consider the thousands of small bakeries, ice cream shops, and specialty food producers across America who rely on vanilla as a fundamental ingredient. These small businesses, many still recovering from pandemic-related losses, now face difficult choices: raise prices, change recipes, or absorb costs they simply cannot afford. People who enjoy baking together or who have special recipes that call for real vanilla, these price increases represent yet another financial barrier to maintaining cherished traditions. And for those with dietary restrictions who rely on home baking with quality ingredients, fewer affordable options will be available. Is it reasonable that simple baking ingredients become luxury items? Purchase extra pure vanilla extract now, properly stored in a cool, dark place. It will maintain its quality for 2, 3 years, or even longer. While imitation vanilla is less affected by these tariffs, the flavor difference is significant to many bakers. Vanilla's steep price climb is just the beginning of flavor challenges. Your entire spice cabinet is about to become significantly more expensive to maintain. Spices. 9th on our list are spices, the flavor foundations that define the cuisines many love. While these might seem like small purchases, the coming price increases could significantly impact your grocery budget and cooking options. What many home cooks don't realize is that approximately 80% of spices used in the United States are imported, primarily from countries now facing substantial tariffs. India, a major spice producer, faces a 26% tariff, while Indonesia faces 32%, and Vietnam a steep 46%. Common spices expected to see significant price increases include black pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, turmeric, and vanilla. Many of these spices cannot be commercially grown in the US due to climate requirements, meaning there are few domestic alternatives. Industry analysts predict that by June, consumers could see spice prices 15 to 25% higher than current levels, with some specialty spices potentially seeing even larger increases. That jar of cinnamon that costs $4 today could soon be $5, while more expensive spices like saffron could see dollar increases in the double digits. The timing is particularly challenging for small ethnic grocers and specialty spice shops across America. These businesses often operate with limited capital and serve specific community needs. Many are family-owned operations that cannot afford to stock up significantly ahead of price increases or easily pass costs to price-sensitive customers. For immigrant families who use specific spices to maintain their cultural food traditions, these tariffs add yet another financial barrier to preserving heritage. And for Americans who have embraced diverse cuisines in their home cooking, exploring global flavors could become increasingly costly. Now is an excellent time to inventory your spice rack and purchase items you use frequently.
Think about everything you need for the next 6 months. Buy it now, if you can afford it. It may save you hundreds, if not thousands later.
Properly stored in airtight containers away from heat and light, whole spices will maintain their quality for 2-3 years, while ground spices generally stay fresh for 1-2 years. While spices might seem like small purchases, the fresh produce section, where health-conscious shoppers spend a significant portion of their grocery budget, isn't immune to these tariff effects. Fresh produce. 10th on our list is fresh produce, a category essential for healthy eating that could soon see significant price increases, particularly for off-season fruits and vegetables. The United States relies heavily on imports for many fruits and vegetables, especially during winter months. Countries like Peru, Guatemala, and Costa Rica, all now facing 10% tariffs, supply significant amounts of America's bananas, berries, melons, and tropical fruits. The impact of these tariffs is complicated by several factors. Fresh produce has a short shelf life, meaning retailers cannot stock up far in advance. Additionally, growing seasons and weather conditions already create natural price volatility for these products. Industry experts predict that by June, consumers could see imported fruit prices 10 to 15% higher than usual seasonal levels. Items like berries, grapes, and tropical fruits could see the most significant increases. For example, that $5 container of blueberries could soon cost $5.50, $5.75 or more. The timing is particularly challenging for small grocers and produce markets serving low-income communities. These businesses operate on extremely thin margins and often cannot absorb significant cost increases without raising prices to customers who can least afford it. Is it reasonable to expect parents to compromise on the quality of food they provide their children? While you cannot stock up on most fresh produce long-term, consider buying frozen fruits and vegetables now. Properly stored in your freezer, these will maintain nutritional value for 8-12 months.
Buy those now and freeze them. They last a long time in there.
Also, plan to take advantage of local growing seasons in the coming months when domestic produce is typically more affordable. From plant-based nutrition to protein essentials, meat prices were already climbing due to domestic challenges, and now tariffs are adding fuel to that financial fire. Meat. 11th on our list is meat, a protein staple in many households that's expected to see noticeable price increases by June. While the U.S. produces most of its own meat, import tariffs will still affect prices in ways many consumers don't anticipate.
Items to buy now. Meats. The U.S. produces a good amount of meat, actually, but also imports a lot of it from Argentina and Australia, both facing stiff tariffs.
Approximately 90% of beef consumed in the U.S. is domestically produced. Important supplemental supplies come from countries like Australia and New Zealand, both now facing 10% tariffs. These imports help balance seasonal domestic production and provide specific cuts in high demand. The impact is expected to be significant for several reasons. First, the U.S. cattle herd is at its smallest size since 1951, already creating upward pressure on beef prices. Second, as imported beef becomes more expensive, domestic producers gain pricing power in the market. Finally, competition for available meat supplies intensifies as retailers and restaurants scramble to secure inventory. Industry analysts predict that by June, consumers could see beef prices 10 to 15% higher than they were at the beginning of the year, with certain popular cuts potentially seeing larger increases. That pound of ground beef, currently costing $5.99, could soon be $6.50, $7 or more, while steaks and roasts could see even steeper increases. The timing is particularly challenging for restaurants, especially those specializing in burgers and steaks. These businesses have already weathered significant food inflation in recent years and have limited capacity to absorb further increases without raising menu prices. These increases could force difficult dietary changes. And for the millions of people who rely on ground beef as an affordable protein option, fewer budget-friendly alternatives will be available. Purchase extra now and freeze it. Properly wrapped, beef will maintain quality in the freezer for 6-12 months depending on the cut. Also, explore alternative protein sources like chicken, which may be less affected by import tariffs, and plant-based proteins. As concerning as meat prices are, they might not see the most dramatic increases on this list. That distinction goes to a versatile kitchen staple that appears in countless family favorites: tomatoes. Last but certainly not least on our list, tomatoes, a versatile ingredient used in countless dishes that could see some of the most dramatic price increases of any food item. If pasta sauce, salsa, or fresh tomatoes are staples in your kitchen, you need to know what's coming. Mexico supplies the majority of tomatoes consumed in the US, especially during winter months. With a 17.9% tariff on Mexican tomatoes, your pizza, pasta sauce, and salads are about to get significantly more expensive. The impact could be severe, with industry experts predicting tomato price increases of up to a staggering 50% by June. That package of Roma tomatoes currently costing $3.99 could soon be $5.99 or more. Canned tomatoes, tomato paste, and prepared sauces will also see price increases as current inventories are depleted. It is challenging for restaurants, especially pizzerias and Italian eateries that use tomatoes as a foundation ingredient. These businesses, many still recovering from pandemic-related losses, now face the impossible choice of raising menu prices, changing recipes, or absorbing costs they simply cannot afford. Families who cook at home to save money, these increases make budget meal planning more difficult. Pasta with tomato sauce, long a budget-friendly dinner option, becomes less economical. And for the millions of Americans who rely on tomato-based products as affordable ways to add nutrition and flavor to meals, fewer alternatives will be available. Stock up now, especially on canned tomatoes, tomato paste, and jarred sauces, which have a shelf life of 18 months. While you cannot store fresh tomatoes long-term, properly canned and preserved tomato products maintain their nutritional value and flavor. Tariffs are expected to have a significant impact on food prices across numerous categories, while expert analyses suggest an overall food price increase of 1.6% to 2.8% from all 2025 tariffs. Certain items like tomatoes could see increases of up to 100%. Let's recap the 12 foods most likely to see significant price increases by June. 1. Seafood, especially from Vietnam, 46% tariff. 2. Coffee, with 99% imported, mostly from tariffed countries. 3. Wine, particularly European varieties, facing 20% tariffs. 4. Nuts, with cashews from Vietnam facing 46% tariffs. 5. Cheese imported varieties from Europe facing 20% tariffs. 6. Olive oil, already expensive and facing 20% tariffs from Europe. 7. Chocolate with cocoa from Ivory Coast facing 21% tariffs. 8. Vanilla potentially facing tariffs up to 47% from Madagascar. 9. Spices, with major suppliers facing tariffs of 26 to 46%. 10. Fresh produce, particularly off-season and tropical fruits. 11. Meat, with supplemental supplies facing 10% tariffs. 12. Tomatoes, with Mexican imports facing a 17.9% tariff. While not all these foods will literally double in price by June, the increases will be substantial enough to impact household budgets. For a family spending $1,000 monthly on groceries, these tariff-related increases could add $30.80 or more to monthly food costs, and that's on top of regular inflation. So what should you do? Consider strategically purchasing non-perishable items now. Canned tomatoes, coffee, spices, olive oil, and other shelf-stable foods with long storage lives. For perishables like meats, cheese, and some produce, freezing is an option for extended storage.
If you act now, you can actually grab them before the new pricing kicks in.
This isn't about panic buying or hoarding. It's about making informed decisions to protect your family's budget in uncertain times. By understanding which foods are most vulnerable to price increases and taking measured steps now, you can help minimize the impact of these tariffs on your household finances. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe and click on any of the cards on your screen right now to keep the fun going.